Wow, haven't done this in quite some time. Hi, welcome to the Xfinity 500. Once again, I last did a review of a NASCAR race, and a review of a playoff race at Martinsville when Ross Chastain pulled off the Hail Melon move, where he rode the wall between turns 3 and 4 to get himself into the championship four. It's fitting because what happened tonight was quite similar. Okay, I'm gonna try my absolute hardest to get to the situation, get to the point of this video, and get to the thing that most people want me to probably talk about. So basically, what's going on in the race is like William Byron and Christopher Bell. Like Byron's ahead one position and Bell's below him. One position separates them each. In the last few laps, there's a few Chevy drivers. I think it was Ross Chastain, oddly enough, and Austin Dillon, I believe it was. They were both behind Byron for the last 10 laps. Byron was struggling. He was about to be passed. If he would have been passed, he would have lost that one position, 1 point for the playoffs. And Byron is driving a Chevy. And rather weirdly, at Martinsville, of all places, these two behind him are side by side the entire time, probably for a good maybe 3 to 4 laps. And they don't get a run on him for some reason. The reason why that's weird is because Martinsville, you just get a run on people. You have got to be doing something in order to not get side by side with somebody. So that's a little weird. But then it gets weirder. So I talked about Bell, who's driving a Toyota. He needs to pass somebody in order to get in to the championship four. It would be a tiebreaker between him and William Byron, which he would win because he has a higher finish in one of the races this round in the playoffs. So basically, he just needs to pass one car, and he'll be advancing into the championship four next week. On the final lap, Bubba Wallace, another Toyota driver, goes over the radio and says, "Oh, I got a tire going down." He starts to kind of get loose off one of the corners. I think it was turn number 2. Bell sees this, goes down to the inside, slides up the track, hits the wall, and uses the wall, like Ross Chastain, to ride it around the final corner. He passes Bubba Wallace, and he ties with William Byron. So that's what happened during the race. That's what we saw happen during the race. The rest of this is going to be people allegedly doing some sort of race manipulation in order to make this happen. Toyota side, with Bell getting in, and Chevy side, with Byron having those two cars block for him. I say that in quotes. We sit here for 30 minutes. I'm not kidding. Blaney's celebrating his win. He gets locked into the championship four. It's a cool moment. Seeing a defending champion last year coming back to the championship four. That's awesome. It was a great battle, too, between him, Chase Elliott, and Kyle Larson in the final few laps. It was amazing. And then we had to wait to figure out who the hell the fourth car was gonna be. The call stood as Christopher Bell going into the championship four and Byron being out of the championship four. Like I said, 30 minutes go by. 30 minutes. And finally, we get the decision from NASCAR, who deemed that Christopher Bell committed a safety violation by widening the wall, and that's it. That's pretty much all they said. Not to, gain an advantage, or any sort of ruling that was kind of made apparent whenever Ross Chastain's wall ride was outlawed. from NASCAR, and rightfully so. We don't want a car going full throttle into turn number 3 at Martinsville and going what's probably equivalent to about 200 miles per hour all the way around the wall. It's a safety issue. It's a safety concern. There's a gate on I think it's the exit of turn 4 that Ross got very lucky to not have open during his move. But here's the difference, and the difference is that Ross passed like 5 cars. Bell passed 0. Remember, he passed Bubba Wallace, impacted the wall, and then gunned it. That's what happened. And this is the funny thing, because everyone's saying like, oh man, you need to DQ. I saw like DQ both Christopher Bell and William Byron. But like you can't, because even the race manipulation part, that's gray. That's a gray area. There's no way of knowing what if Bubba Wallace did have an issue with his car? What if Austin Dillon and Ross Chastain were just racing? We don't know. There's no concrete way to know what's going on. And I think that's the problem. We don't know. This really reminds me of Spin Gates from back in 2013. Whenever I think it was, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments if it wasn't, I want to say it was Clint Boyer purposely spinning out at Richmond to give, I think it was Martin Truex Jr., his teammates, an advantage in the chase format, as that was the format at the time. And it actually put an end to the chase era. Now we're in the playoff era. And a lot of people are thinking, much like that happened over 10 years ago now, this should signal the end of the playoff era. And I agree to a certain extent, but I'm also kind of like, I don't think NASCAR is going to end this playoff era. Eric accepted like a really, really good thing where it was like, he basically said some along the lines of like, these 3 races, we've seen the good and the bad of the playoffs. We saw the bad with Joey Logano winning his way into the championship 4 at Las Vegas. After midweek, it was announced that one of the people who basically got into the playoffs was eliminated because they broke a rule, because they were disqualified. So he gets a freebie because of someone else's, disqualification or whatever. And he ends up winning and locking himself into the championship. And then you had last week at Homestead, Miami with Tyler Reddick's awesome last lap pass in turn 4 to lock himself into the championship 4. And I guess this week you also had Ryan Blaney locking himself into the championship 4, but I don't know. I don't know. I could really sit here all night and talk about like, oh, I don't think Bell probably could have been penalized, because I think either way you slice it, I do think Bell, there's an alternate universe out there where Bell does get to keep his position and does get to go to the championship 4. But it's like, either way you slice it, it's still controversial. Either way you slice it. And that's what ultimately makes this, like, situation, this whole thing about, like, race manipulation and all that stuff, that's what makes this just so stupid, Because, like, it's a gray area. We don't know. We really don't know. I guess you could maybe pull up the telemetry of Bubba Wallace. Maybe. But I really don't think this is going to change much. I guess Clint Boyer also said, like, oh no, we had a tire going down in the same section with Bubba Wallace. Even Matt Kenseth, whenever he famously wrecked into Joey Logano, oddly enough, at Martinsville, to basically end his chances of winning a championship that year. Even he said, oh, I have a flat tire going into him, So it's just one of those things where we just don't know. It's just unfortunate the fact that we just don't know. There is radio talk between, I think it was the crew of Dillon, Austin Dillon, I think referring to Ross Chastain's team, like, do they know the deal? Do they understand what's going on? Like, that kind of thing. But who knows what that means? It could be it could literally be anything. Whatever, it's just gonna be, let's name this, Wallgate. That's what we'll name this. That's at least what I'll name it. I don't know what they're gonna come up with in terms of, like, naming this for the future. But oh my god, it was ridiculous. I'm happy that it wasn't too, I guess, manipulative in terms of the finish overall. It was mostly just between those two drivers, and that was really it. It wasn't like the way that Blaney won, or it wasn't the way that, everything else unfolded. So everything else, in terms of the racing itself, everything else was fine. Just that ending part was just weird. It was so dumb. That's really what I could say. It was dumb. It really was. There's nothing else I can say. Alright, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Don't know if you guys did or not, but we'll just go with it, I guess. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you like, comment, subscribing, awesome. And of course, guys, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and goodbye, everybody. I will see you guys soon. Take care, everybody.